We're here with Eduardo Sanchez, the director of Exists. Thanks for joining us, Eduardo.
Thanks for having me.
Can you just give us a brief synopsis of Exists?
It's basically these 5 kind of knuckle-headed young people go out into the woods and to a cabin they shouldn't be going to, and bad things happen. They basically run into a Bigfoot, and and then all hell breaks loose. That's basically the synopsis.
So the first question I've got to ask really is, do you believe in Bigfoot?
I want to believe in it, but it's, every time, the logic center of my brain kicks in and say, and asks the questions of like, why hasn't there been any remains found? And, why hasn't been one captured or any kind of really definitive proof? No, I don't believe in it. But then there's these, some of those eyewitness sightings, from very credible people, including people that I know, that just kind of leave me a little bewildered because, people are definitely seeing something. And I know that, a lot of the sightings are hoaxes and just people trying to, get famous or just fool around or whatever. But, there's definitely some that are just unexplainable, and especially the ones that people have told me and people that I trust and people that I know are not lying to me, about seeing this creature. So I'm like, well, what are they seeing? I mean, is it, I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, it seems like, especially, in the United States, it's like there's a lot of land, but it's always surrounded by humans, I just don't think that it could exist. But I think, in a more isolated area of the world, I think it's still possible that there could be some kind of creature living up there. But yeah, so hopefully, I don't know what'll happen. I mean, I feel like I want somebody to discover it, but at the same time, I kind of like I love the whole mystery of it and the whole kind of just contemplation of like, of is it real, not knowing, I think is most of the fun, You
were talking about the mythology there. How much did you do in terms of research on the actual mythology of Bigfoot?
Well, I mean, I've always been a fan of Bigfoot, so, I'm not an expert, but I definitely know, all the main kind of, the kind of the benchmarks of Bigfootology, if you want to call it. So, I used to read, throughout my life, I've read a bunch of books about Bigfoot, and a lot of the books, like I've read, are about, obviously the stories and the kind of the freaky, stories of people running into the creatures in the woods, but also like the more scientific kind of studies as to like what this creature could be and what the theory is on, what it could eat and, how powerful it would be. And that's really what interested me, is kind of like the physical reality of, the idea that this creature existed. So, I'm not an expert, but I definitely can probably tell you more than the average man can about Sasquatch.
I mean, did you watch any of the previous Bigfoot movies that have been made over the years as well?
I watched it, I have seen a bunch of Bigfoot movies. The most recent one that I haven't seen because I was like right in the post-production of this movie and kind of, was Willow Creek, which I'm going to check out soon. But, the problem with most of the Bigfoot, and there have been some good Bigfoot movies, but the ones that recently, there's always something about the Bigfoot that it ends up being not about a Bigfoot. It ends up being about aliens or about something else. And I get a little frustrated when they don't show the creature, or if the creature is just kind of like a typical, superhuman, killing machine. So I definitely enjoy Bigfoot movies, but I definitely think that, they're, for good reason, they're kind of treated as a joke. They're not 100% serious. And even though Exist is not really, it's a Bigfoot movie for God's sake, but I tried to kind of take it as seriously as I could, and Exist to me is kind of the Bigfoot movie that I've been wanting to see since I was a kid. And the biggest thing is just like how the creature looks in the movie. Like we show the creature and it looks, I think it looks great.
Yeah, I mean, that leads me on to actually quite the next one, really. Is it difficult for you when you work with an established legend, compared to, obviously, your previous stuff, which is your own work? You've got kind of an established legend here. Was you worried about taking it too far, as you said, into alien territory?
Well, I mean, I was always under, I've always been kind of of the mind that, that of approaching the whole Bigfoot thing as if it's a real thing, not an alien and not, something supernatural, but just a creature, a missing link, let's say, something that, didn't, that kind of slipped through the evolutionary timeline and still exists today. So to me, that I've always approached the creature, like that, from that point of view. And I think that's what, most of the, serious kind of Bigfoot researchers and kind of like the big kind of Bigfoot, popularity, like the Bigfoot groups out there that go and try to find it and, try to do real scientific research and, accumulate data on the sightings and everything. The whole idea that, this is it's just an animal, it could be, it's partly human, but it's mostly animal and it's somehow escaped, extinction and it somehow has survived to this day. So I've always that was kind of my theory and that was kind of my mythology. So anything else, I kind of just veered away from, but I knew that was, not that Bigfoot belongs to anybody because it's a public, it's kind of everybody owns a little piece of Bigfoot, you know what I mean? It's nobody really owns it, but I did want to be respectful to kind of the people that really do take it seriously, like I didn't want the creature to be a killing machine, just heartless killing machine. I wanted there to be a reason why the creature was doing what it was doing. So that's kind of the main thing that I was focusing on, is just making sure that the creature was physical and really of this earth, and then that it didn't act like a complete sociopath, like most monsters in movies are.
Was it difficult for you to get the look and the feel of Bigfoot right?
Yeah, that was the biggest challenge. I mean, I've had this vision of the creature in my head for a long time. And, this is the third, Bigfoot project that I've been involved with. And, we finally got this one financed. And, so, for me, it was like, okay, now it's time to put up or shut up, just basically gotta get out there and I gotta make this creature look real. I gotta make this creature look good. So that was kind of the big challenge. So, we hired the best people that we could. We hired a company called Spectral Motion, who's done a few of my films, before. And, we hired a guy named Brian Steele to be the guy in the suit, who's, the premier kind of suit guy in the, one of the premier suit actors in the world, and, together they kind of, came together with this design and, and just kind of the mannerisms and just, we decided that we were going to do, just prosthetics on the actual actor's face instead of animatronics, so that the actor could actually, have emotions and could, some of his facial expressions could play through. And then, we kind of just let Brian loose, and he became Bigfoot, so yeah, that was the biggest challenge, and then as far as like, how do you shoot it, my thing is that I never forgot that it's, at the end of the day, it's a guy in a suit, so you have to constantly kind of, figure out, unique ways and kind of original ways to shoot the creature so that it doesn't look like a guy in a suit. And I think we did a pretty good job. It's a pretty good looking creature.
You're talking about Brian Steele there, and for people who don't know, I mean, this guy has done so much. He's been in the Hellboy films, the Underworld films, he was in Predators, he was also Harry in Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah.
So he's got this whole wealth of knowledge already in horror and basically as Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Did he audition for you?
No. Guys like Brian don't audition. Mike Elizalde, the guy who runs Spectral Motion was like, look, there's one guy, he told me about, this one guy, this guy named Brian Steele. He's kind of the Bigfoot guy. He's kind of the, this is what you got, the guy you want. And also they had already worked with him. So they actually have like a mold of his body in the studio. So it was easy for, it was not easy, but it was a little easier for them to design the suit around him. And then also he's just such a great, just a great guy. He's very enthusiastic and very creative, and is constantly kind of trying to push, the boundaries of what he's supposed to be doing, which is great, and then he started sending me, I knew we had picked the right guy when he started sending me videos of him running around like Bigfoot in his backyard. So, it was, he just really got into it, and I really appreciate that kind of enthusiasm, in the, with the playing of the creature,
Did he ever, at any point when you were filming, say, no, sorry, Eduardo, they just wouldn't go like that. They would actually go like this?
No, he was very good about, collaborating with the movement and stuff. And he was constantly asking me, how did I look? Is that right? And this, and sometimes I would adjust him, but most of the time, it was just kind of let him do what he wanted to do. And he's been doing it for so long, and, he's studied the movement of, so many animals. And so for me, it was kind of like, just stay out of his way and, tweak a little beat here and there, but just basically stay out of his way.
I mean, Exist is your first found footage movie since 1999. Mm-hmm. And obviously that last one did pretty well, I think we can all say.
Yeah.
Were you worried about going back into that genre, which has now basically exploded, probably down to yourself and obviously Daniel Merrick as well?
Yeah.
Are you worried about going back?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was always a worry, when we did Blair Witch, for us the technique was, was born from the movie, born from the story of the movie. And afterwards, after the movie hit, I remember having discussions about, you could do any movie like this. You could do comedies, you could do action movies, you could do, so many, haunted house movies. But it really was, to me, it was to take that Blair Witch kind of technique, the found footage technique, as it was, called, or as it was named, because Dan and I always called it, POV cinema, like, first person footage. Like, it's basically, it's not really found footage, it's first person footage. The characters are videotaping it themselves. But, we were real careful because we thought, to do it in another movie would be just gimmicky. It's like, okay, they're doing, this technique and they just plugged in another story and they're just, exploiting the technique. So, but I think that, once all the kind of the found footage movies started kind of coming out and, being popular and, Paranormal Activity and Cloverfield and Wreck and, all these movies, it wasn't just gimmicky. It was kind of, that was just the way that those films chose to be made. And I think it opened up the door for me and Dan, to one day kind of go back and re-examine and just doing a film with that technique, because it was something that we popularized, but we didn't invent it. There had been other movies before, that had used that technique. So, for us, it was kind of like just, does the story merit the technique? And I think that's what I do with all my films, is you read the script and you try to come up, with ideas in your head, how you see the movie. And so for me, Exists, even though it started off as a conventional film, conventionally shot film, it quickly kind of just became found footage in my head, because I was always, the scenes would always kind of turn into, it just started kind of forming into these little snippets of found footage, visuals in my head. So, we made the call, early in the pre-production. We were like, I think we're going to just do this found footage, and, the DP agreed, and it was really the right call. It's a Bigfoot movie, so you have, you have a lot of precedent as far as like, everything that we've ever seen about Bigfoot is sort of found footage. It's just people videotaping or taking pictures of this thing. So it was very much, it just seemed like it was the right film to do. You know, it was the right kind of story to do with this technique. And I think it came out really cool. And, you know, and obviously, you know, the found footage genre has progressed and has evolved. I mean, Exist has music and has a full, you know, 5.1 surround mix, and, you know, it very much is a movie, you know what I mean, that uses this technique. It doesn't try to fool anybody into, you know, believing this is real. You know, the night scenes are lit, you know, we actually use lights, you know, real lights in this movie. So, you know, there's this, you know, so it definitely has evolved, but it was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun to kind of, because, you know, once you're in that mode, it's just a challenge to kind of, you know, take a normal script and make it feel like it's just happening right in front of the cameras. And, you know, and obviously that's the actors, a lot of the actors' work too, but also the DP was very under John Rutland, who also shot Lovely Molly, you know, just very instinctually smart about where to put the camera and how to move it. And you know, and all the actors, you know, had just great cooperation with, you know, the fact that, you know, the DP was in the scene pretty much all the time. You know, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a great experience. You know, it was like a lifelong dream to make a Bigfoot movie. So I was just kind of like, you know, walking on air the whole time, you know.
Did you find it easy? What's your relationship with found footage? Do you find it easier to film like that? Because obviously you started with it and you've done another one. Or do you find it easier going through the whole process? As you said, you had DP all the way through. But with Lovely Molly and, you know, your other stuff as well, they're proper films compared to the found footage. Do you find one easier than the other?
You know, it's not really, you know, easy, because I think, you know, I think there are some things that are easier in found footage, but I think that there's also a lot of challenges, because you have to, you know, you still have to kind of keep the idea that they're rolling the cameras regardless of what happens. And then so you kind of have to keep that constantly in your mind as to, like, okay, why are they shooting this, and what's the most, you know, non-ridiculous way that I could shoot this where it doesn't look like I'm actually just shooting the scene, you know what I mean? Because there's no reason for them to be shooting it. So you constantly have to be kind of working your way through that logic of, you know, why are they shooting this movie? But that's kind of a constant problem with, you know, with all found footage. It's like, okay, why are the batteries not running out, and why is the, you know, all those kinds of challenges, you know. And when we faced, you know, or very early on in Blair Witch, that was our main thing. It's like, okay, why are they still running these cameras? So, there's that, but then, you know, there's all the you know, I prefer, I mean, you know, I like making just, you know, normal movies, you know, just conventionally made movies. I think you have a little more, you know, you have a more, you know, space to work in, you know, and you also have a little bit, you know, it is, as, you know, all filmmaking is collaborative, but I think the found footage is collaborative in a different way than, you know, conventionally shot films. But I think, you know, I wouldn't say any one is easier than the other. I think that they're both, you know, they both have hard and simple things, and they both have advantages and, you know, huge disadvantages. Yeah, I mean, you know, I did Greg Hale and I, my partner, did a segment in VHS2. So that's, you know, we've done 3, you know, that was a short film, but we've done 3 found footage movies now. And I think that's going to be it for a little while. You know, we'll see what happens. You know, to me, it's like, it was really nice to have done it with Exist. But I just don't think, you know, I don't know how I would, you know, justify another one. But you never know. You know, if they offer me enough money, I'll do anything, you know. So.
Have you shown Exist to the Bigfoot hunters, you know, the people who hunt them down?
No. I mean, we had a little, you know, it seems like every time there's a screening, there's a group of them that kind of ends up, you know, checking it out. So there's been a few people who have reached out to me through Facebook that have actually seen the film, and you know, and the reaction is pretty good. I mean, they really do love the film, and they agree it's the best looking, you know, they think it's the best looking Bigfoot ever put on film. I think they appreciate the fact that, the creature, does have reasons for what it's doing. It's not just killing people just, for fun. There is kind of a reasoning for all that. And I think, I think they told me that they can tell that, it came from a place of, respect, of not just, trying to exploit this, this thing, this creature, but really, like I describe Exist as kind of my love letter to Bigfoot, which is, kind of ridiculous, but it really is. I mean, I really do, it shaped my life so much as a kid, and, and without Bigfoot, there wouldn't have been any Blair Witch. And so it's kind of inspired me and scared the crap out of me, and just, been such a huge part of my life. And most of the Bigfoot people that have, that are really big fans, at least the ones that have contacted me, are really, they really love it, and they're really excited, and they want to see it again, and they're trying to get their friends to the, to the theaters, and to, so, I think, I would have, I think we'll still do it eventually. I'd love to take the movie and go and, just show it to see it with a crowd of, Bigfoot enthusiasts. Even if they've seen it already, I think, it would be a good showing.
Are you interested in turning it into a franchise? What's your thoughts on that? Because, Bigfoot could really go anywhere, I guess. Yeah. No, we have,
like I said, this is my third project that I've been involved with, and we've had a certain amount of success with the other projects. Not that, we never got them done, but there was always a lot of enthusiasm, and in each instance we got a really serious bite, but something happened that didn't, that didn't get that just made the film impossible to make. So I hope that now, if Exist does well enough, we can make another one, and also, maybe do a TV show. I think but you're right. It's a worldwide phenomenon, and I think that, we can definitely take it to anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the globe, and do something, that has to do with, Bigfoot or the Yeti or Sasquatch or, I hope that to make a few other films, and if not, maybe develop it into a TV show.
Did you have ideas from the film that you think, that would work better into a sequel or a TV show? Were there bits you dropped?
Yeah, the thing about the progression of this project was that, it started as a really big, like a period piece Bigfoot movie, and then it was condensed to like a smaller kind of expedition film, and then it was even condensed even more to what we have now. So really, it was just to get to this place, we had to jettison so many crazy and cool ideas. So there's plenty to go with. I think we pretty much have two scripts that I think with maybe one or two rewrites could completely work as the sequel to this movie, or like the further adventures of the next chapter of Exists. There's plenty of stuff, and then the whole the whole idea of this movie was, let's just